Of course, purely private entities like newspapers are not subject to the First Amendment, and as a result, they may publish or decline to publish whatever they wish. But government officials may not coerce private entities to suppress speech, and that is what happened in this case. Justice Alito points out the core of the matter: government officials coercing private entities to suppress speech. With a vast amount of evidence, Justice Alito could have probably created hundreds, if not thousands, of pages in his dissent. He has decided to focus on the White House and Surgeon General's office, the most influential social media platforms, and one plaintiff, Jill Hines. With the inquiry focused in this way, here is what the record plainly shows. For months in 2021 and 2022, a coterie of officials at the highest levels of the federal government continuously harried and implicitly threatened Facebook with potentially crippling consequences if it did not comply with their wishes about the suppression of certain COVID-19 related speech. Not surprisingly, Facebook repeatedly yielded. As a result, Hines was indisputably injured, and due to the officials' continuing efforts, she was threatened with more of the same when she brought suit. These past and threatened future injuries were caused by and traceable to censorship that the officials coerced, and the injunctive relief she sought was an available and suitable remedy. This evidence was more than sufficient to establish Hines' standing to sue, and consequently, we are obligated to tackle the free speech issue that the case presents. Justice Alito points out that Jill Hines was indisputably injured by the actions of the federal government, even though the government didn't specifically identify her or her content for censorship. The court, however, shirks that duty and thus permits the successful campaign of coercion in this case to stand as an attractive model for future officials who want to control what the people say, hear, and think. By hiding behind an unreasonable strictness for establishing standing, the court has shirked its responsibility, further injuring the plaintiffs by denying them their right to petition the government for a redress of grievance. That is regrettable. What the officials did in this case was more subtle than the ham-handed censorship found to be unconstitutional in Vulo, but it was no less coercive. And because of the perpetrator's high positions, it was even more dangerous. It was blatantly unconstitutional, and the country may come to regret the court's failure to say so. Officials who read today's decision together with Vulo will get the message. If a coercive campaign is carried out with enough sophistication, it may get by. That is not a message this court should send. As I pointed out, the court has told those in government all they need to do to censor someone is not explicitly name them. Lower courts, who tend to follow the opinions of the Supreme Court, will most likely take this into consideration when future claims of censorship arise. Furthermore, the court's decision actually provides incentives to social media and other platforms to follow whatever suggestions come from the federal government. For these and other reasons, internet platforms have a powerful incentive to please important federal officials, and the record in this case shows that high-ranking officials skillfully exploited Facebook's vulnerability. When Facebook did not heed their requests as quickly or as fully as the officials wanted, the platform was publicly accused of killing people and subtly threatened with retaliation. Not surprisingly, these efforts bore fruit. Facebook adopted new rules that better conformed to the officials' wishes, and many users who expressed disapproved views about the pandemic or COVID-19 vaccines were deplatformed or otherwise injured. Even if government threats did not specifically name Ms. Hines, the rules Facebook and other platforms adopted in response to government pressure injured her and the other plaintiffs. While all this was going on, Jill Hines and others were subjected to censorship. Hines served as a co-director of Health Freedom Louisiana, an organization that advocated against vaccine and mask mandates during the pandemic. Over the course of the pandemic, and while the White House was pressuring Facebook, the platform repeatedly censored Hines' speech. As the dissent shows, there was a causal link between the actions of the federal government and the injuries sustained by the plaintiffs. It just wasn't spelled out so a child could find it.